All righty. Let me send out the links like I always do. Make sure. Whoa, what did my voice just do? Send out the links like I always do. Make sure. Whoa, what did my voice just do? We're good with audio. We are. Okay. All righty. Welcome to Missouri Tigers Live. This is episode 49. I was going to watch the Mizzou basketball game, but the ESPN app crashing on me, so I can't get to the SEC Network Plus while we do the show. So it's a chilly one here in the good old St. Louis area, but we're here to talk about the Missouri Tigers. We have two preview shows left. We have this week and next week. And then it's coaching craziness. We're going to talk more about Eli. I wanted to be done talking about Eli and this coaching search crap, but after the comments that were made Saturday night, we kind of have to talk about it. So welcome to the show. Like and subscribe, guys. We're here every week. This offseason has a chance to be really interesting. So we'll see what happens, and we'll cross that bridge, of course, when we get there when it comes to Eli. But first, looking back at Saturday night at Mississippi State, there have been times in my Missouri Tigers fandom life where games like that were not very winnable games that you look at the schedule and you mark down as, hey, you should win that game. Even in the Pinkel era, in some years, they didn't always come out and they weren't always easy W's. Under Eli, a lot of these games that you're like, oh, Mizzou should win that game by 2 touchdowns, they often do win by 2 touchdowns. And for that, he deserves a lot of credit. There were some hairy moments Saturday night against Mississippi State, but they kept the run game. Credit to Kirby Moore. They finally did it. I know Power Mizzou had a tweet why someone tweeted why is Ahmad Hardy not getting more carries? And he averages 19 a game. We're not getting 20 carries a game. Oh, he averages 19 carries a game. So he's not getting 20 carries a game. And the 12 against Alabama still stands out as just egregiously disgusting. And I know there was some game situation with that. I'm not completely unforgiving of that. But they got out there and they rolled. They ran the football. Like I said, it did get a little interesting at times, but they were able to just kind of pound the rock, get ahead, and win a football game that they needed to win. They're 7-3. They moved to 500 in the SEC. So at worst, they'll be 3-5. At worst, you go 7-5 with a chance at a bowl win. It's kind of about where we expected them to be. And you do have a chance this weekend to ruin somebody's season. We'll talk about it here in just a little bit. But I am curious where Mississippi State goes from here. This is going to be 2 years now where you have one conference win, unless you somehow beat Ole Miss, which, look, I know in a lot of games and a lot of rivalries, it's, throw out the record book. But that doesn't really mean anything. Usually the better teams just win games. No, in the case of the Egg Bowl, that is still true. The Egg Bowl is still crazy. But Jeff Lebby, I know a lot of Mississippi State fans were really upset with him the other night because he kept playing Blake Shapen, who is not their better quarterback. And if you watch that game, you knew he was not the better quarterback. And if you listened to the show last Saturday, you also knew not the better quarterback for what Jeff wants to do and how Jeff wants to run kind of his version of the veer and shoot. But you did exactly what you're supposed to do. I thought the defensive line was really disruptive. I thought, looking back, watching some of the games, Zollers, after the pick, was able to compose himself. He made a couple really nice throws. Alubade is obviously the best receiver on the team. And he did start, so that deserves for someone. I crap on Kirby Moore, but that deserves credit. He did. God, what is my password? He did establish. He did get Alubade out there. So, other than that, Ahmad Hardy, with all that's going on, you're not going to make the playoff. And now with how college football is, the playoff is the most important thing on the planet. You're obviously not going to make it. You don't obviously there's bigger fish to fry right now with the Missouri Tigers program, which is Eli going to leave? But I don't want to overlook the fact that you did have a running back just go for 300 yards. It's only happened once before in Missouri Tigers history. Could he have gotten a few more carries maybe and gotten to that 120 or that 320 mark? Yeah, maybe, but he got 300 yards. Unfortunately, I don't know if he's going to get first team all SEC because, our old friend Kawan Lacey is also having a hell of a season down at Ole Miss, and that's a team that's, they're going to make the playoff. Like, we can talk about Lane here in a little bit, but that's a team that's going to, that's a team that's going to make the playoff. This is where my Western Illinois go next. But yeah, Kawan Lacey's unreal too. Eli does have a knack for, he knows running backs, man. Like running backs, he hasn't really gotten quarterback right yet, but at 100%. Like Mizzou has not had an elite quarterback under him yet, but he does have a knack for finding good running backs. So credit to him for that, and Coach Luke, obviously, for that. But you want to give a lot of credit to a Hardy for that kind of night. Eli stays, Eli leaves. If you come back next year with Olubade, Hardy, Josh Manning, you bring in another transfer receiver, Norfleet comes back. I know there's some Norfleet draft talk. Guys, he's got to play football to go into the NFL draft. He doesn't play football. I think you have a nice skill receiver spot if you bring in a quarterback. If you don't bring in a quarterback, but that's, again, relying on keeping everybody, which in this day and age, not exactly. And you have, and you're going to have Marquise Davis and all that. Like, there's a core nucleus of skill guys here. It's just going to kind of depend on what Eli does and who he takes and who leaves and whatnot. So, well, of course, we'll have months to cover that, guys. Like we have 2 games left. Oh, running your offense through Arizona State's backup big is a choice, Mr. Gates. It worked out there. Nice pass to Mark Mitchell, but okay. But Mississippi State, look, you did exactly what you were supposed to do. You killed them, and now you have a chance to go to play OU, and it's a big game. You're ranked again in the AP poll. We'll learn tomorrow night if you will be in the playoff poll. I kind of doubt it. I don't think it really matters. Phillips, yikes, that was awful. I don't think it really matters. But we'll get into OU here in a second. The other big story out of Saturday night is Eli. Tom Hart made some comments. And he talked about how Eli is kind of disappointed at the lack of Fortune 500 companies that do work with Mizzou, or because they stayed in Missouri. Guys, there's not a lot of Fortune 500 companies that are in Missouri, to be first off. And Edward Jones has some stuff at the game. Look, if Eli let's just talk about it, again, because that's just kind of where we. Yeah, I mean, if they're in it, they're in it. It doesn't really. It's it doesn't matter. It's kind of being framed as Eli providing a reason. If he leaves, this is why, Mizzou fans. This is why I'm going to leave. There are maybe Mizzou fans that didn't know this. If you watch the show, you know this. Guys, if Eli leaves, he's leaving because he's going to go to a place that can win a national title. You can't do that at Mizzou. You could have a lot of success. And again, I say this every show. The fact that ESPN and Fox have put such an emphasis on the national title and not the fun of college football is everything wrong with the sport right now. There are 18 programs, in my estimation. No, I'm pretty fair. 18 at most, because I put Washington and Ole Miss on the cut line. And then Texas Tech, we'll see in a couple of years. They have a couple more years of this recruiting success. But there's 18 programs right now at Max that can win a national title. That's 120-ish programs just left out in the cold. And that's some good programs. Missouri has been a great program. Michigan State has had a lot of success. Iowa has had a lot of success. Look up and down. Arkansas has won a national title in their history. They're not going to win another national title. Mizzou, I think, can be in the SEC and compete. If Arkansas or Mississippi State want to make the playoff, they probably need to go to the Big 12. It's just truth. It's going to take a dream type season for those kind of schools to every break possible scheduling. Arkansas would need to play Mississippi State, Kentucky, a bad Missouri team, South Carolina, and insert other Auburn. Like if Summerall's a whiff or whoever they hire is a whiff, and then get lucky in another. Like it's just going to be so hard for those kinds of programs to get even near the playoff that we're going to. But a lot of these Wisconsin has had a lot of success. You can go up and down the Big 12 and the Big 10. Over in the Big 12, none of those programs can win a national title. Kansas State has been a very good program for a long stretch, and Bill Snyder left, and then he came back, and they've been really good ever since. They're consistently, like, every time I think of Kansas State football, I think of 9-4, and finishing number 21 in the country. That's pretty good. Like, that's a successful program, and maybe like a Big 12 title appearance or whatever. But in this day and age, like, Mizzou's just not going to win a national title. And if he leaves, that's what he's going to go do it for. And that's okay. Like, it might suck, and you can be mad at him, but he's left Mizzou in a better spot than it's been in. It will be frustrating, and we'll have a lot of content here to talk about. Like I'll say now, if he leaves, we'll do a show the day he leaves. If I'm at work, we'll do a show as soon as I can when I get off work. When they hire there's a chance for me to put out a lot of stuff this offseason. I would rather he stay. I think Eli is a net positive, a very big net positive for Mizzou. I can have some issues with his quarterback recruiting. I can have some issues with his offense. I can have some issues with this, but he is a very good coach for the University of Missouri. He does a great job recruiting. He does a great job building an identity. His teams work their tail off. Like they play hard, sometimes too hard. Because they had a lot of personal fouls the other night. I think they're in a good spot no matter what happens. Obviously, if Eli leaves, you're probably looking at a little bit of a reset. But that's just kind of how it goes in college football. But yeah, those comments were definitely alarming. Look, I'll just come out and say it. And then I don't work for TeamSpeak Kills anymore. The SB Nation shut down my site. But people I talk to, and the people, you read Power Mizzou, it seems like they're getting a lot of the same info, or any RockM, or any of these Mizzou websites. The Mizzou side of things thinks he's going to stay. The people who are around that program think he's going to stay. The people who aren't around the program think he's gone. And it's going to be to Penn State, Florida, and Auburn. People think he's involved there. He worked for Auburn. He loved Gus is like his mentor. He's like, if you put Eli on like a tree, like you have the Saban tree and you have the Urban Meyer tree and the Ryan Day tree and the Dan Lanning, the Kirby Smart tree that includes Dan Lanning, all that kind of crap. Eli's under the Gus tree. Gus still has a lot of positive things to say about Auburn. It's just when he got fired, it was kind of one of those, it's time. He had a lot of success. It's time to move on. Eli really does. I think he's looking at that job. I don't think he's going to get that job. I don't think that's where he'll end up, at least. It looks like John Summerall's kind of the favorite there, and that would be a hell of a hire. Look, I'm gonna have a bit now. I think it's Danny Cannell that has it. Hey, great hire. No idea it was gonna work out. C+. We just don't know. Like, we've seen so many coaches come and go, and like Scott Frost in Nebraska. Oh, that's an amazing hire. He flames out in 2 years or 3 years. There's just so many. Like Dan Lanning, really? Oregon? Oh my God, he's awesome. Remains to be seen about Kalen DeBoer at Bama, but I thought it was a really good hire. I firmly believe if Florida State moves off Norvell, Eli's going to get in the mix there. So, because I think he'd be really good down there. I think Eli's a hell of a coach. There's reasons why it's frustrating. I understand that. But part of you as a Mizzou fan have to take a little bit of credence to the fact that, look, he's done such a good job. Like, Gary was never going to leave. I think Gary Pink was perfectly positioned at Mizzou. There were talks that he wanted to interview at Michigan and then canceled the interview. He was just like, no, I'm good here. Barry was obviously not going to go anywhere at Mizzou because he just wasn't good. The fact that Eli's getting recognition to take another job is a positive thing for Mizzou. That means you're playing good football. You have a positive presence at coach. Hopefully he stays. And we're not the only look. And Mizzou fans, we're not the only ones dealing with this right now. Ole Miss fans are dealing with this. Washington fans are feeling this. Jedd Fisch feels like he's up for a million different jobs right now. And Jed, I think, is a good coach too at Washington. So it's all going to kind of depend. We'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, I'll be here. We'll talk. We'll have discussions. If it happens, I already have a hot board. I can literally stare. I can click 2 tabs over and stare at my hot board. I'm not going to go into it tonight. But if Eli leaves, guys, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. If he stays, it's going to be even better because I think you really do have a nucleus here to build around. Now, you're going to have to do a lot of work in the portal, defensively and on offensive line, which I don't. At some point, you have to recruit and develop your own offensive line. If you that's kind of the Mizzou's biggest issue right now is they're too transfer portal reliant, and if you're not a Ole Miss, if you don't have like a Lane Kiffin, who's one of the best offensive minds in the country, you're going to have a hard time winning football games because the offensive line, and we've talked about that plenty. So this is the voice of college football, Missouri. We're here every Monday night at 7 o'clock. We'll talk Missouri Tigers football. Talked about Mississippi State. We talked about Eli and what's in the future. And now let's get into it. Oklahoma. Oklahoma is an interesting team. They're in a spot where if they win out, they beat Mizzou at home, and they beat LSU at home, they're in. They're going to make the playoff. And if I was a team in the playoff, I would not want to play Oklahoma. They have a great defense. Their defensive line sucks, like in terms of like to play against. Their defensive line is incredible. I think they're the best defense in the SEC. Tennessee got them a little bit. Bama moved the ball up and down on them, and we'll talk about that Bama game here in just a minute. But they force turnovers. They get sacks. They force negative plays. I think it's the best defense in the SEC. I think followed closely by I think Mizzou's is up there. I think Texas is really good. Didn't show it that much on Saturday, but when your offense gives you nothing. I think that Oklahoma's defense is really good. They give up 14 points a game. They're awesome. Offensively, they're not good. Yeah, they score on defense too, which is going to be a problem. Offensively, even bringing in John Mateer and some of the weapons they have, they brought in Jay Knott. He's been mostly a disaster. It's offensively is not good. John Mateer, look, he's completing 63% of his passes, only 8 touchdowns to 7 picks. Look, he has also run the ball 104 times for 329 yards. John Mateer is kind of who I thought he was before the season when I talked about, and the defense is carrying them. He makes some really nice plays. He does things that not a lot of Mizzou, I haven't seen a Mizzou quarterback do, but he also makes mistakes that I haven't seen Mizzou quarterbacks make. He did a really nice job Saturday of avoiding those mistakes. But at Washington State, John Mateer was the best athlete on the field. He could run away from everybody in the Mountain West, Pac-12, whatever the hell. And he did really well against Washington too. He comes to OU with Arbuckle, and I think Arbuckle's really good too. And you can see it on the sideline. You can see it with Venables too. If you watch these games closely, you can see the frustration at some of the throws he misses. Because Arbuckle will scheme something wide open, and he'll just miss it. Because he's not an elite thrower of the football. He does not play well in structure. Now, if you're Mizzou, you can exploit that. The path to victory for this game for Mizzou, and we're not done talking about this. Mizzou, if this game gets into the 20s, like if Oklahoma hits 24, you're done. It's over. You're not scoring 24 points against this defense. If you can keep the game in the teens, if you can really muck it up and give yourself a shot here to win it like 20-17, 17-14, 20-16, something like that. Because as good as OU played defensively the other night, offensively they weren't that good. Now they had a pick 6, so that takes away some of your yardage. They did have a big special teams return. That takes away some of your yardage. But this is why turnovers are so important and why it was a little frustrating for a while when Mizzou just did not force them. If Bama was the better team that game, if you watch that game, Bama was the better team. But 3 turnovers kill you. They outgained Oklahoma 212 to 406. Less penalties. Ty Simpson picked a bad time to have a really bad football game. Oklahoma, outside of the one big run by Satan, how many big plays did Oklahoma have? They had like one explosive passing play. Alabama still can't run the football. Alabama had a good running back since Najee Harris, which is a little crazy. Like Brian Robinson was not that good at Alabama. I covered those games. He was not that great. They just have lacked a lot of the explosiveness that you've come to expect from Alabama running game under Saban, and they haven't had it for a couple of years outside of Milroe. But yeah, I mean, Kip Lewis with 2 sacks. Jordan had a sack. Obviously, Eli Bowen, who's a stud. Peyton and Eli Bones are studs. They forced the turnovers and they won the football game. The thing with Alabama, though, is they're a lot like Iowa. They're crimson and cream Iowa right now. Like they just are. And I don't mean that as an insult to OU fans because they're finding ways to win football games. Iowa found ways to win football games. And Oklahoma's doing it and not the Big Ten West. You know, Oklahoma has a win on the road in Tuscaloosa. Oklahoma has a win over a Michigan team, and they killed that Michigan team that's still alive for the playoff. Michigan wins out. They're not going to. They have a nice win. They dominate South Carolina in a way that a lot of these schools haven't. They won at Tennessee, and now they get Missouri at home. And this would be a nice little run to end the season if they can get this win, get the LSU win, and now you're on to the playoff, and you're probably looking at like an 8 seed, a 9 seed, and that defense travels. And they've played in tough environments. They played in Tuscaloosa. They played in they played in Knoxville. I don't think nice pass, Javon. I don't think like Lubbock is going to scare them, or Eugene, or wherever they end up. They might play out. They might go to Oxford. So this is a really scary OU team. If you play them in the playoff, I mean, now again, they're not going to blow you out unless you're garbage. They're just not. They don't have the offensive capabilities to blow you out. Unless your offense is just god awful, which Mizzou's might be. Like Michigan's offense was just terrible. So they were able to kind of get them and get on them. And Michigan had one big play by Justice Haynes, and then that game was over. I do think it will be interesting what Mizzou's offense looks like. I think Bo's going to play. A couple weeks ago, he obviously against Vanderbilt, he got hurt. It looked really severe, and he was warming up last week, and some people thought he might play last week or like limited snaps. They obviously didn't play him. It didn't matter. They scored at will on offense for the most part anyway. It is going to be interesting. If Bo plays, does your passing game have anything? Can your defense score? Can you do something like – you want to hear something crazy? I'll pull up this stat while I talk. And this is, again, look, we can all – I know everyone wants to fire Kirby Moore. I do too. But let me see if I can find it about this. This is from everyone's favorite Mizzou fan, Uncle Danny 24. Let's see if I can find it. See if I think he tweeted it. Whatever. Mizzou's like top 25, top in offensive and defensive EPA. Now a lot of that is inflated because a lot of the team, like the early part of the season when their offense was rolling, turns out they're playing really bad teams. Their special teams EPA is 113th, and that doesn't just include field goals because they have a backup kicker like that. I can excuse that stuff. Blake Craig, for some reason, decided he wanted to make a tackle 40 yards downfield, up 40 against Central Arkansas. fire Eric Lake, for God's sakes. And Mizzou cannot punt the ball. I can't believe Stanford's backup punter is just not quite good enough. But this is a game Mizzou can win. And look, this game would change a lot of narratives around Eli, because this would change his can't win a big game. This would change some of his the thoughts of him on the road, because he has really struggled on the road in his career at Mizzou. And you have a chance to ruin OU season. And after all the crap, not from this offseason, it kind of calmed down as my cat has decided it's time to make noise. It's kind of calmed down. But last offseason, it was crazy. And Venables and Drink were taking shots at each other. Like, these two do not like each other. So it's going to be an intense game. I am curious to see with Oklahoma. You had a big emotional win over Alabama on the road. Huge win, saves your season. Now you come back home. It's going to be a good environment. It always is in Norman. It's 11 a.m., though. You're facing a Mizzou team that has nothing really to lose. What is it going to look like? Do they have that? Do they still have that gear to get to? Now, defensively, I think they'll be fine, because defensively they're going to be good against everybody. Their defense is incredible. Offensively, can they get to 24 points? If they get to 24 points, this game's over. I don't think Mizzou can put up 24 on them. I don't know if Mizzou can put up 20. But I'm willing to, maybe something weird happens and you get a goofy score or something. We'll have to wait and see. But I think this is a gettable game for the Missouri Tigers. I'm not going to predict them to win, but this isn't like going on the road against an elite Georgia team or an elite Alabama team, like going into Alabama last year or going into Georgia in 2021 or something like that, or Florida in 2020. This is a gettable game because Oklahoma does not play offense well enough to kill you. And if they do, you got issues. Let's see. Yeah, no, the pressure's all on them. You have nothing to lose. Your season for like what you kind of hope is going to happen is over. Now, the other fun thing with OU is they have a great kicker. So this comes down to a field goal kicking competition. They're going to kill you. But I think my prediction, I think Mizzou's going to play okay. I don't think they're going to get routed. I think this is going to be a ugly football game. Crimson and Cream, Iowa right now. And I say that with love. I take a lot of shots at OU. I don't say that as disrespectful because they win football games and that defense is legitimately incredible. OU struggles to run the football. John Mateer struggles to play in structure. Out of structure, he's as good as anybody in the country. I do think Oklahoma wins this football game. I'm going to say 27-14. I think it's one of those games that Mizzou hangs around, and then about halfway through the fourth quarter, the dam kind of breaks. An explosive play to Deion Burks or Satania or whoever, and a turnover, and it just kind of Mizzou loses in Norman for their fourth loss. I think it's going to be it's going to be an ugly game. It's just going to be, we're 10 weeks into the year. I'm going to say no. In the pass game. Run game, probably not, because no one runs around on this OU team. This is a game where legitimately on 3rd and 5, you probably are just better off handing the ball off to Jamal Roberts or Ahmad Hardy than forcing Bo to throw or anything like that. Like, this is a game, and obviously things change depending on how many plays you run, how many, down situation, that kind of stuff, obviously. This is a game where you should game plan 20 carries for Hardy and Roberts. Like, if you run 60 plays, 65 plays, 40 to 45 of them should be runs. And if Bo's playing, that includes designed runs. If he's playing, he has to be able to run the football because he's not a good thrower. So if you have Bo out there and he can't run it, then what are you doing? Like, there needs to be 40 to 45. It's like 70% of your plays need to be runs. And you need to drain clock. This is going to be, and Mizzou does not play fast anyway. I kind of wished in like 23 they play with some actual tempo. They don't play with tempo. Eli has never played with tempo outside of 2020 when we all thought, oh, maybe we have an offensive mastermind head coach. Turns out that was a lie, which is so weird in these coaching searches. I keep seeing like Eli, offensive innovator. Like, no, he's not. He gets his guys to play hard. He's a good he's a good talker. He's a good recruiter, and he's a good like brand guy. He's a guy you want like leading your program because he takes all the pressure away off the team because he puts it all on himself. So, and he doesn't care. I love Eli for that. Like sometimes he talks, and I'm just like, dude, shut up. But he's legitimately a funny guy, and I really appreciate that. So I think OU is going to win this football game. I think they're going to make the playoff. And we'll talk about the playoff here in a little bit because we have 2 weeks left. Like it's time to start talking about this playoff thing, man. Like it's coming up. We're right freaking there. And as much as I hate the playoff, like it's at least fun to talk about a little bit. Like hypotheticals are fun. So let's go ahead. You are listening to the Voice of College Football, Missouri Tigers, guys. Like and subscribe. Come hang out. We're here every week. We're going to have a fun off season no matter what happens. I haven't talked a lot about recruiting because I don't like talking about recruiting during the season. I have 7 to 8 months to talk about recruiting every freaking Monday. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. You can listen to us on Amazon, Spotify, all your favorite places if you can't catch it live. And we do have merch, and I've posted the merch link in the chat. So let's go ahead and get to off Missouri for a little bit, and we'll go to SEC news and coming off games this past weekend. A couple, obviously, we talked about OU, Alabama. We talked about the OU side of things. Great win. Like, obviously, they win against Missouri. They win against LSU. They're in. They're in the playoff. They might even host a damn playoff game. We'll find out kind of what the rankings look like tomorrow. From the Alabama side, it's scary because now you're going to go into Auburn, who it does not matter how good or how bad Auburn is. Like they're going to play that game hard, even with an interim, even though DJ Durkin's coaching, and they have nothing to lose because they're not going to make a bowl game. It's a scary spot to be in. They should win that football game, and if they win, they're in. If Alabama wins out, they're in. They might host OU in the first round, kind of depending how the dominoes fall, and get a shot at revenge. Again, I thought they were the better team. They still do have a shot at the SEC. I believe if they win out, they're in, unless some like Florida beats Tennessee, and like one of those kinds of like Vanderbilt beats Tennessee, and Tennessee beats Florida, something crazy. I think A&M has to lose to Texas. It's like 5 or 6 things have to happen. But if they finish 10-2, losing the SEC championship game, they're still in. The conferences will kill people if they don't let teams in because of the national championship, because of the SEC championship. That's just how it's going to work, especially in the Big Ten. And like Indiana and Ohio State are probably both locked in the top 4 seeds because you can't knock Indiana or Ohio State out, probably Indiana out of the top 4, unless it's like a 63-10 kind of game, because of a loss in that game. So Alabama, it's gonna be hairy. The other big game that night, I watched a lot of this game, was Texas losing to Georgia. I'm gonna say some controversial things about that game. I actually thought Arch Manning played pretty well. He got no help from his receiving corps, and Gunnar Stockton was awesome. And the Georgia, ever since that Ole Miss game, has really been rounding into form. And they're looking closer and closer at a team that might get a bye in the playoff. And Kirby, man, he just knows, like, sometimes it's kind of annoying where you're just like, dude, like, what are you talking about? But he made a comment like, if you're going to come here, you're coming to be physical, not just get a check. Man, he motivates his guys. He's so good at it. And that deserves so much credit. Georgia's really rounding into form. As for Texas, look, if Texas had kept this one close, like lost like 28-17, 31-21, something like that, and then beaten A&M, I don't think they would have gotten in, but you certainly could make a case for a Texas team with the wins over Vanderbilt, Texas A&M at that point now. Losses to Georgia and Ohio State, the bad loss to Florida, but you can make a case for them to be in the 12-team playoff. You could have made a case. I don't think they would have made it. No, you don't want to see them. I think Ohio State's kind of a cut above, but no, like I'm sure they would rather play like Oregon or something, or Texas Tech or whoever. But Texas, I think they could have had a case at 9-3 just because of how bad the ACC is, how bad the Big 12 after the top three. Because I think BYU is legitimately pretty good. I think obviously Texas Tech is awesome, and I think Utah is pretty good. Other than that, I think it's a whole bunch of crap. I think Cincinnati's pretty fun. Fun story, good for Scatterfield. I think Arizona's a super fun story. Congrats to them. They're going to win 9. They might win 9 games. That's crazy. Arizona State's fine. Like, I just think it's mostly those 3 teams. But yeah, Texas, if you get killed, like, yeah, you're not going to make it. And they got killed. So they're out. And Sark made some comment about, like, who said it's disappointing? And I'm like, dude, you're Texas. Like, you have to be a top 11 team in the country every year. You just have to be. Like, and Sark's a good coach. I think they'll be fine long term, but if he stays, because there's always talk about him leaving for the NFL. Desmond Howard seems to keep hinting that he's going to leave, so he's going to leave. So we'll see what happens there. But and then the last kind of fun note from the SEC that day is what the hell? Texas A&M falls behind 30-3. South Carolina comes all the way freaking back, wins the damn game. Look, no one's going to go, wow, you were down 27 against South Carolina and won. Good for you. But, like, yeah, they're probably going to finish 8-4. Like, it's ugly. They have no run game. Just none. That's the biggest issue. They have no run game. Arch, I thought Arch played fine Saturday until the game got kind of bad, until the game got out of reach. And it did. Like, he scored. They scored a touchdown. It's 10-14. You're putting a good defense back on the field. And by the next time you're on the field, it's 28-10. You know, like, it's just one of those things. I thought Arch played well. Texas A&M. That's a game Texas A&M normally doesn't come back in. Like, or no one ever comes back. Like 286 and 286. And back comes Marcel Reed, who was maybe the worst quarterback in the country. Marcel Reed's the quarterback like everyone thought he might be in the first half, and then the second half he was unfreaking real. Throws for 439. Ashton Bethel Roman was really the big part of that comeback. He was insane. Casey Concepcion. They lose their stud running back, and now they have like Reuben Owens. EJ Smith, and they couldn't really run the ball in the second half, but like all those guys are pretty good running backs, and we saw that against Missouri. They're just a really good football team. To have the mental fortitude to come back from 27 down, I don't think they're going to win a natty or anything, but Texas A&M, this is what I was going to get to. South Carolina, I've never liked Shane Beamer. I thought he was an overrated position coach that got hired because of his name. And then his first year at South Carolina was okay. I think they went 6-6. Second year, they under Spencer Rattler, they had the huge win over Tennessee. They beat Clemson. They shocked Clemson. And they finished, I think, 8-4. 2023, didn't make a bowl game. 24, they were really good last year. Lenore Sellers, Rocket Sanders, they had some really good wide receivers. And now this year, they suck. Like, they're awful. Like, you're not good if you blew a 27-point lead to Texas A&M. I don't care who you're playing. You can't blow a 27. And he's going in the locker room like, and then he made some comment after the game like no one was celebrating at halftime. Yeah, you were, Shane. You're with your gangly arms. I think Shane Beamer's a dork. Like, he's who everyone. Eli is a dork, but he's kind of he's a really funny dork. Shane Beamer seems like someone that takes himself way too seriously. And it's really annoying, and I'm so glad he's getting put in his place. Like, there was a lot of talk like, oh, Virginia Tech might hire Shane. We'll talk about Virginia Tech here in a second. Oh, Virginia Tech might, steal Shane Beamer away. Like, South Carolina should be elated if they had stolen Shane Beamer away. Virginia Tech could do so, and they did do so much better than Shane Beamer. It's about Missouri. We just did 40 minutes about Mizzou. We're getting into some SEC stuff. I've always people. Beamer's always been who I like. Everyone talks about Eli and how much they hate Eli. Tennessee fans have no love for Beamer either. But Beamer's the dork that I think everyone thinks Eli is, because Beamer takes himself way too seriously, whereas I don't think Eli takes himself seriously at all, which I kind of appreciate. Let's see here. And then Ole Miss, that was a horrible win against Florida team that I thought quit. And that's kind of the rest for the SEC stuff. Because you are listening to Missouri Tigers Live. We talked about we wrapped up talking about the Mississippi State game after the late finish on. Thank God this game's at 11 a.m. I love night games, like if I'm going, and they're fun for fans, but I hate, especially 6:45. That game didn't end until 10:15, and I went live at like 10:30. It'd been a long day. I had to work from 8 to noon or whatever. Banking for you. I'm happy this game's at 11. I'll have a lot more energy for a post-game show. Wow, Sean Phillips just missed the dunk. That's crazy to me. Let's see here. Where do I want to go next? We talked about OU, kind of what Mizzou needs to do to win against OU. To reiterate, it needs to be a game in the high teens, maybe low 20s. Like if OU, I think if you told Venables that his offense in Arbuckle, that his offense got to 24 points, I think he'd take that. Like, I think you go, all right, you can take. I think if you told Venables that your offense is going to score 24 points, you can take it, or you can take 24 points, or you can take, you can go into the game scoring whatever. I think you'd take the 24 points. I think you win. Beat Beamer yesterday with Drew Pine and a decent defense. Wish we had a kicker. We didn't beat Beamer. Last year they lost with Brady Cook. It was a really fun football game. Wish we had a kicker too. Cheers and thanks to, of course. And we're going to be here all off season, every Monday night, to talk about Mizzou football and talk about college football as a whole. Like this off season, guys, this off season is going to be crazy. Like there are things that I've heard about and things I read that, and I know like the Josh Pates of the world, the Brandon Walkers of the world, like they're going to hint, and this isn't disrespectful to those guys. Like they're going to all say and have things that they don't know about. Like, but there's things like the Sark thing. If Sark leaves Texas, that throws a huge wrench into a lot because Texas instantly becomes the best job available. There's always a chance Marcus Freeman goes to the NFL. There's always a chance Ryan Day looks at the NFL. Look, I wouldn't be shocked if Ryan Day looked at the NFL. If they win another natty and he's gone back to back, you have to look at the NFL if you're Ryan Day. And he's a hell of a coach. So let's move on to some national news here. Talking a little bit around the country. We'll start with nope, I'm looking at week 13. Sorry, I got an important text from my cousin. Just for full disclosure, I've got some family stuff going on. So if you see me looking at my phone, it's not just like me looking at scores and whatever. I mean, we can just going through. Louisville blew a game against Clemson. Jeff Brom's in an interesting spot. I have seen and read he's a really heavy favorite at LSU. He should take that job. I know he loves Louisville. He left Purdue. He had a really good thing going to Purdue. He's a really good coach. I would like to see him stop playing transfer portal roulette, 6-year portal roulette with guys like Miller Moss, Tyler Shaw, Jack Plummer. Like I would like to see him draft and develop a quarterback, but can't say I really blame him. Ollie, for God's sakes. Can't really say I blame him. But yeah, Jeff Brom, that was ugly. And now their season's over. Their ACC hopes are over. Ohio State, going to the top 25. Ohio State does what it does. To UCLA, dude, they're a freaking juggernaut. And you know what? Full credit to UCLA for scoring 10 points. He was pissed. Brent Key, same thing. Like he's a candidate for a lot of these jobs. If Eli were to leave, again, not a certainty that he leaves. If Eli was to leave for Penn State or Florida, LSU, whatever, if he does end up leaving. Obviously, I don't think Brent Key is going to leave Mizzou or leave Georgia Tech for Mizzou. I would look at Buster Faulkner. He's a Kirby guy. He's done incredible things at Georgia Tech. I'll just give you a hint. I'm not going to post my hot board. I will, if the day Eli leaves, we'll do a show. If he does leave, I'm like 50-50 now. I was like 35% he's leaving. Now I'm closer to 50-50, but I still don't know. And we won't know until he does. I will do a show and I will go one by one through my hot board. It's about 10 names deep right now. A couple of them I'm probably going to take off based on like what I read and what a couple of people that I talk to tell me. Buster Faulkner is a really good offensive coach. And he's not going to leave another place to be an offensive coordinator. So yeah, that's a guy definitely. And they escaped Boston College. They need to win the ACC. So that Georgia game ultimately, I don't think really matters for them. They have a huge game against Pitt. Pitt does what Pitt always does. It struggles. They made the right switch at quarterback because their new quarterback is much better. They win a bunch of games against bad ACC teams that don't give a shit about football. Pardon my language. They beat a bunch of bad ACC teams. And then they get ranked and then they lose a big game. Yeah, I mean, look, in the ACC, and I'll give you another name. Jake Dickert is on my list. I like Jake Dickert a lot. They won again on Saturday. But like Wake doesn't care about football. Virginia Tech, let's just get into that. That's a great hire. Great hire. We'll see if I don't know if it'll work out. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to work out because Virginia Tech does not fund like they should. Beat Boomer last year. Yes. My bad. I misread. With Beamer's 1-4? Let's see. They got him in 21, 22, 23. Yeah, 1-4. Eli's better than Beamer and getting back to Shane. Like I said with Shane, there was a lot of people like, oh, is Shane going to leave for Virginia Tech? South Carolina fans should be praying he leaves Virginia Tech. I don't think he's good. South Carolina, again, is not on a list of teams that could ever win a national championship in modern college football. It's just not going to happen. But they should expect more than good year, bad year, good year, bad year, good year, bad year. And the schedule this year has been tough, but they were leading against Mizzou in the fourth quarter. They were leading Alabama in the fourth quarter. They were beating Texas A&M 30-3. Like, you can't keep losing these football games if you're Shane, and they just do because Shane Beamer's not a good coach. But I can tie the James Franklin thing back to Mizzou. James Franklin, if Eli were to leave, would have been on my list. Obviously, I took him off. He takes a Virginia Tech job. I don't know if it's going to work. He's a really good football coach. He must have nailed it because they had Brent Pry and fired him, and they don't like Brent Pry. So they did. Yeah, I misread that. They did beat Boomer. Yeah, I read Beamer because I was talking about Beamer. James Franklin would have been on my list. Yeah, if it happens, it happens. Look, I'll be honest. If Eli does leave, I got a list of about 10 names. I mentioned a couple of them. Not going to go crazy on it. We'll see what happens. I'll be live for an hour the day Eli, if he leaves. We'll see. There was a time where I thought it was when a lot of these coaching hires and firings started happening. I was like, okay, like he's going to be an option at Florida State. He's going to probably be an option at LSU, Florida, Auburn, Penn State. I thought he'd be an option, but I was like 35% sure he'd take it because I thought Mizzou was in a really good spot. As the season's gone on, I'm like 50-50. And look, he might leave the day after that Arkansas game. Shoot, he might leave before. We might learn something. We don't know. I think a lot of the chatter will pick up after the OU game. If Mizzou beats OU, I think that could change some opinions. If they don't, then yeah, I think there's a really good shot we hear a lot of stuff leading up into that Arkansas game. And Arkansas, I think they should beat anyway. they're going to hire Petrino. I have a really bad feeling for them. They're going to hire Petrino. They shouldn't. They should hire Jeff Traylor or Will Stein or just somebody. Eric Morris. But that's their list. I have my list. Obviously, when we go live, there'll be things I'll read and stuff beforehand to kind of that will inform my list of potential coaching hires. But James Franklin would have been on the list. I am a little surprised he didn't wait because I think he would have been an option at Florida State. I think he's I don't think he was ever really an option at Auburn. I don't think he was an option at LSU. Like some of those schools, like you can't. Penn State just fired you. You can't take him. At some of these jobs, I said a lot. I hate Shane Beamer. I would love a camera every South Carolina game that's just on him, on his incessant whining and complaining, because that's all he seems to do. And in his press conferences, all he does is whine and complain. Look, he might be a great motivator. I think he's a pretty good recruiter. I just don't think he's a good coach. I am a little shocked he didn't wait. So Virginia Tech before the season made a lot of comments like they don't spend like they should on football, and it's true. They get outspent in football by Virginia. Virginia's in a class of programs, and they're having a very good season. So full credit to them on that. But they're in a class of programs, I would say, that don't care about football. They just don't care. Like, they don't care enough to compete at like a high level. So Virginia Tech made a statement for the season that they're going to put a large influx of money. They're going to put their money where their mouth is. Obviously, hiring James Franklin's a huge step towards that. I think Franklin's a really good coach. I'm a little surprised. But look, with the ACC, how it is, you have 3 programs that should be at the top every year. They're not. But Florida State, Miami, Clemson spend, recruit, and have a level above the rest of the ACC. The capabilities of being a level above the ACC. Rest of the ACC. And then you have a group of programs that include like SMU. As long as Rhett's there, SMU is going to be pretty good. Louisville obviously is going to be in that conversation. We'll see what happens at like NC State, but North Carolina, Duke, a lot of these programs. Virginia Tech has some mobility. Georgia Tech would be included in that group. Virginia Tech has the capability of bumping up into a top 2 type or top 4 type program and into a big, depending on the schedule, ACC championship discussion. Certainly the capability there. I love going at Beamer. That's the next Miami quarterback, Lenore Sellers, by the way. Someone brought that up in a group chat I'm in. I'm actually like pretty confident in that. I was telling you guys about Carson Beck like before the SEC title game. He was going to Miami. So I was like, yeah, he's probably going to go to Miami because it just was not him and Kirby did not get along. Good quarterback, obviously having a nice year at Miami. But yeah, I'm a little shocked he didn't wait. But you get down the line, Virginia Tech's like, we got to hire somebody, and you keep saying no. Then they end up hiring like Ricky Ronnie or someone like that. Then you don't get the job at Florida. You don't get the job at Florida State. Or Florida State doesn't open. Lane takes, and you just kind of go down the line, and then what are you with? So no, I'm a little shocked, but I'm not at the same time. Like I think it's a good hire. It's a good hire for him. You don't have crazy expectations. You're going to have expectations. Nothing insane though, and he's a really good football coach. C+, because who knows? Let's see, going back around the country for some national stuff. Texas Tech, that's the best Big 12 team we've seen in a long time. Hey, if you just buy a bunch of good players, your team's going to be pretty good. I don't think they have the offensive capabilities, but TCU, BYU is a really good football team. I think if they lose to Texas Tech again in the Big 12 title game, they're not going to make it. Because they'll only have really the one quality win over Utah. It'll be weird if they lose that game and Utah jumps them, but that's a good football team. TCU had a lot of expectations coming into the season, and now they're 6-4. Their Big 12 title hopes are over. What's going to happen with Sonny Dykes? Like, you made a national championship game. You had a really rough follow-up year with Chandler Morris, who's now leading Virginia to an awesome season. You had a fine year last year, a lot of hype this year, and then you stink. You're not very good. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I don't think they're going to fire him. Texas coach that will be fired, probably Dave Aranda. Defense is terrible. He's a defensive guy. He might just be better as a coordinator. Some of it's Baylor. Baylor's never had a good defense outside of the 1 year with Rule, they had a pretty good defense. And I think it was 2022 when Baylor put a lot of money into this team. to bring back Sawyer, to bring back Spadaval, the OC, and opening night they get killed by Auburn, and now they're 5-5. They might not make a bowl. Who's left on their schedule? They go to Arizona and they got Houston. Those are two teams looking to finish the season with 9 to 10 wins. So we'll see. Miami did exactly what Miami needs to do. They killed NC State. I actually thought that game was going to be fun because I like CJ Bailey. I like Hollywood Smothers. I think that's a good offense. And we talked about Georgia Tech. USC. What's going on with Lincoln Riley? Like the last couple wins they've had, he has looked amped. Usually Lincoln's pretty like calm and under control for a young football coach. He has been crazy amped. And I know Lincoln reads a lot of what's said about him. That was a good win over Iowa. Iowa's a good football team, man. Iowa, they've lost 4 games. They lost by 3 to Iowa State. Iowa State season's fallen off the tracks, largely due to injury. They lost by 5 to Indiana with a backup quarterback. They lost by 2 to Oregon, and now they lost by 5 to USC. That's a really pretty good football team. And you came back, you were down 21-10 and in the rain in LA, and you won. Good for USC. Their season's still alive, man. They can still make the playoff. I don't think they will because I don't think they're going to win at Oregon. And they got UCLA. But if they win at Oregon, they're going to make it. Like they're going to make it. And I don't know. No, they won't make the Big 12 title game or Big 10 title game, obviously. But fun team. Like that's a really fun team. Their receivers are incredible. Makai Lemon is so good, dude. Maeva, I don't even think is playing that well, but because they have Jacoby Lane and Makai Lemon, like it doesn't matter. They're so good. Michigan keeps their season alive against Northwestern. Ugly football game. I mean, but look, if you're a Michigan fan, you can look at them and say, look, we turned the ball over 5 times and we beat a quality Northwestern team. Northwestern team that might make a bowl game in a weird game, and we won. So take solace in that. Virginia killed Duke. This is the first time in a long time. I think Virginia's like not luck boxed their way into a win. They're 9-2. We'll see what happens against Virginia Tech in a couple weeks. Virginia Tech's got some momentum. Virginia's not a great football team, but their ACC title hopes definitely still alive. We talked about Arizona. As far as the playoff, Navy knocks South Florida out. South Florida cannot make it. And I know a lot of people around that program are mad at Alex, or like fans of that program, not people within the program. I don't have USF connections. They're not happy with Alex Golesh right now. They're actually a little like, if he leaves, like it's going to be okay. Navy's put themselves into the discussion in the American along with North Texas and East Carolina to maybe make the playoff, man. Like it's going to be the JMU versus the American winner. So Kansas State doesn't cover itself in glory against Oklahoma State. That's a team that potentially Alex Golesh would go to. Arkansas loses again because it's Arkansas. Jeff Sims is 2-0 as the starter at Arizona State. Good for him. Arizona State, that'll be a fun football game. Like we're going to get to rivalry weekend, and there are going to be so many games with playoff implications. But if Arizona State takes care of business against, let's see, who do they got? Colorado, and Colorado's horrible. And Arizona takes care of business against Baylor at home this week. The game has no meaning for the playoff. The game has no meaning for Big 12 title hopes, but that's 2 8-3 teams going at each other in a big game for a chance to go win 10 games. Like that's just fun, man. Like that's what this sport is about. 2 teams that hate each other. One having a bounce back year, the other one having a nice year despite nothing going their way. Absolutely nothing going their way for Arizona State. And a chance to still win 10 games. Kenny Dillingham's an option at some of these schools. He's a hell of a coach. I would, if Kenny Dillingham went to Arizona or LSU, I'd be terrified. North Texas kicks the crap out of UAB. North Texas just puts up points. Eric Morris is really good at his job. Hey, knock it off, Cat. Drew Messamaker, 18 for 25 for 298, 2 touchdowns. Part of the reason Eric Morris is going to be a popular candidate, maybe not at the top level of jobs, but like in Arkansas, like some of these other schools, is because Eric Morris is going to bring along that quarterback, more likely than not. And that quarterback's really damn good. Eric Morris would certainly, I'm not going to say if I have him on my list or not, but he certainly would be a candidate potentially at Mizzou. He's a candidate at Arkansas. Basically, he would be a candidate at Ole Miss if Lane leaves. He's a really good coach. And what I like about Eric Morris is you see like the clear, like trajectory of his career from Incarnate Word and North Texas and all these places. He's a good coach. He's a good coach. And sometimes it's all you can really ask for. That's all that happened. Oh, and San Diego State, they lost to Hawaii. Is going to keep them out of the playoff, but they could still win the Mountain West, and that'd be certainly fun. Boise State 6-4, not a great bounce back for them. Florida State gets a win. They're going 5-5. They need to win a road game to make a bowl game. They can't keep Mike Norvell, man. Can they? Can they keep Mike Norvell? It'd be interesting. I don't think they can, and they shouldn't. He's terrible. He's really, really bad. Looking ahead to this week, going back, I meant to do this, but sorry, just talking crap on Beamer. Obviously, this is the last year of the SEC FCS Challenge that we have this week. Every year, we have 3 conference games. How many conference games do we have? We have 4 conference games. Kentucky, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt. It is in Vanderbilt's best interest, and Kentucky's playing better with Cutter Boley. Like they're playing some really, I won't say great football, but they're playing really hard. Mark Stoops has kind of got them what Mark Stoops now at his peak is going to be at Kentucky, and what Kentucky may be at their peak. Again, if Kentucky wants to compete for the playoff, go to the Big 12. But Tennessee, Florida, Arkansas, Texas, and then Mizzou, Oklahoma, a legitimately interesting football game. Like the rest of the SEC, you're playing Charlotte, Samford, Eastern Illinois, Mercer, Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina's playing. Keep an eye on that one. Coastal Carolina's playing some really good football over the past month and a half. They started off the season really poorly, but they've rattled off some wins. They did just lose to Georgia Southern, but that might be one to is South Carolina quit? Like if that game close, if they quit and Coastal, you can go in and beat the Gamecocks. It's just something to keep an eye on. Yeah, it's a lot of crap this week. Kirby made some interesting comment we're gonna beat when people leave our program, we want to schedule. And then you look at Georgia's non-con, you're like, do you? I know, I'm sure he'd love to play Miami. Wow, what a block by that kid for Prairie View. Okay, and then finally, looking around nationally, this is we obviously have rivalry week. It's not a great week. You have your MAC stuff. Fun Friday night game, Florida State, NC State. Winner goes to a bowl. Loser probably fires their coach. Both Florida State should probably fire their coach anyway, but I don't know if they will. Dave Doran, maybe it just might be time at NC State. I like Dave a lot. Dave seems like another coach where he just doesn't take himself seriously, which I really appreciate. I love that in college football coaches because there's so many of them that take themselves seriously. And if you're not a Nick Saban or Kirby Smart, something like that, you don't have to. Lane Kiffin does not take himself seriously. Drinkwitz does not take himself seriously. Your top teams, Oklahoma plays Missouri, obviously. Rutgers goes to Ohio State. Miami, Virginia Tech. Louisville, SMU is a fun football game because SMU is still in that ACC discussion. If you look at the ACC standings, they are tied for first place with Pitt, Virginia, and Georgia Tech. They don't own tiebreakers. Who did they lose to? Who did they lose to? Oh, they lost to Wake. That's right. I forgot about that. But kind of an interesting, it's an interesting football game for this week. Delaware, look, speaking of Wake, chance to get to 8 wins against Delaware before you play in the final game of the year. Kansas, Iowa State, Kansas, Mizzou fans, we're not making the playoff, so it's okay. But if we were on the chance for the playoff, you should probably root for Kansas this game because if Kansas misses a bowl, man, it makes your schedule look like crap. Because Kansas is, if they lose this game, they're not beating Utah. Washington State, James Madison trying to be that last team in the playoff from the group of 5. That'll be a fun football game. Kind of a celebration of what Bob Chesney's done. I know he's an option at some of these schools. I think he's an option really at Ole Miss if Lane leaves. Syracuse, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's locked themselves into the playoff, I think. Michigan, Duke, North Carolina, just 2 teams that have had weird years. Just weird years. I actually think Carolina's turned it around a little bit. Michigan goes to Maryland. If Michigan plays like they did last week, they could lose that game. TCU, Houston. I hope Houston can still win 10 games. Look at Willie Fritz, man. Like, Willie Fritz just wins football games. I love Willie Fritz. He's perfect for Houston because he's kind of like Cignetti. He's not as boisterous or as loud as Cignetti. He's just a ball coach, and I think he's perfect there. Pitt, Georgia Tech, huge game for the ACC. Winner probably goes to the ACC championship. Loser, your season's over. And Georgia Tech obviously has Georgia next week. Let's see. Is there a Cal, Stanford, whatever? North Texas goes to Rice. Rice runs the football pretty well. They're only a 17.5-point favorite. BYU goes to Cincinnati. Big game. That's a huge game because if BYU wins this, there is a very real chance they make it as an at-large if they don't get killed in the Big 12 title game. But if they go to Cincinnati and lose, they're done. I don't care what happens. I will never. Yeah, I mean, don't. I just. If Mizzou was in a playoff discussion, like let's say they were 10-2, and they're kind of hovering in that Vanderbilt spot where Vanderbilt now is like they need help to make the playoff. They're not a lock to make the playoff by any means. Even if they go 10-2, it'd probably be good for Kansas to make a bowl game, but you're not in that spot. So screw them. I hope they miss another bowl. That'd be really funny. They won 9 games 2 years ago and have basically sucked since. Let's see. Yeah, well, that was more of a thing for his players more than like the media, because Nick knows they were going to win whatever game by 100. But his comments like, you weren't here when we played the Citadel and they ran our asses ragged. Like Nick's a funny guy. I'm tired of ESPN's crap, but Nick's a funny guy. He's really good at TV. Mizzou basketball needs to stop playing with their food in these non-conference games. They're only up 22. Stop playing through Sean Phillips. Can we play through a good basketball player? And Sean Phillips isn't bad, but to Cruz, buddy. Okay, so my playoff field right now, obviously, I think as we hit this point of the year, Ohio State's a lock. They're not losing. Well, obviously, they're not losing to Rutgers. So at worst, they're 11-1. Indiana is a lock. They have a bye week. They go to Purdue. They're going to win that game because Purdue's terrible. Texas A&M is a lock. They're not going to lose to Samford, so they're going to finish 11-1 at worst. They're in. Ole Miss is a lock. They have who do they have this week? They have a bye. Yeah, they have a bye. And they have Mississippi State. They're in. Even at 10-2, they're in. Notre Dame is probably a lock. I don't think they're losing to Syracuse or Stanford. So Georgia. Okay, so I said Alabama, Indiana, Texas A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss. They're a lock. And then you have a G5 spot that's a lock, obviously, and a Big 12 spot. So I think we're getting down to cutting time. Like who's going to be in, who's going to be out. You have some big games this weekend. Obviously, Oklahoma. Obviously, Oklahoma-Missouri might be the most interesting game of the weekend, because if Oklahoma wins, they're a home win against LSU. Then we'll finish off talking a little more about Mizzou, Oklahoma. It's fun that this game's back. Oklahoma's going to be wearing the alts. We'll see what kind of energy Oklahoma brings to this game. They are coming off a huge win against Alabama, and they did not play particularly well. They forced 3 turnovers. They scored 1 offensive touchdown. Now, they have a hell of a kicker. Mizzou does not, because, again, our starting kicker decided to make a tackle 40 yards downfield against Central freaking Arkansas. Mizzou needs to keep this game. It needs to be slow pace, which won't be a problem for Eli. He loves his slow pace. I don't understand it sometimes, but whatever. And you need to keep the clock moving. Hardy and Roberts need 20 carries each. Again, some of that's going to be down distance. Like you get the ball at the end of the half. We'll see if Bo plays with the passing game. I don't think it really matters. I don't think his passing game is very good. Giving Mizzou about a 35% chance win on ESPN's matchup predictor. Oklahoma is a 9.5-point favorite on ESPN Bet Sportsbook. That's getting shut down. That's just what I have in front of me. I don't have FanDuel and all that stuff. So we'll see. I gave my prediction. I said 27-14 OU. I think it's going to be a pretty ugly but fun football game. It's always fun playing these guys. And I think it's going to wrap it up for me tonight. I have some stuff I need to attend to. So Thank you guys all for tuning in. Mr. Let's see. Was it Mr. Jones? Thank you for coming in, man. You come back on Saturday. We'll be here. I'll try to be live within 20 minutes after the game. Kind of depending on what happens. Obviously, like the South Carolina game last year, I needed to just like take a breath because that game was so crazy. The Kansas game, I needed to take a little bit of a breath. That was super fun. Bama game, I kind of went live right away because I wanted to yell about Kirby more and his usage of the run game. But thank you guys all for tuning in. I will be back on Saturday, and then we'll be back next Monday. And look, then we're gonna have a whole off season of stuff to talk about. So you guys have a wonderful night and a wonderful week. If you watch hockey, love your hockey. It's feast week in college basketball. If you love the NBA, that's gonna be fun. Baseball's over. The NFL starting to get into form for playoff season. So you guys all have a wonderful week, and I will see you on Saturday. MIZ, baby. End their season, Eli.